What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. How are we doing? What do you know? Philadelphia has made a trade. They've actually made a pre-deadline trade move here days before the actual NFL trade deadline next Tuesday. We'll get that thrown up on the screen immediately because everyone wants to know what's going on. And it is officially, as I try and pull it up here, 1 second, a cornerback move for Howie Roseman. We knew they were shopping around the cornerback market. We knew they wanted to go ahead and look for a guy to take over for Dory Jackson, take over for Keely Ringo, and we think that they found that guy. It's very interesting. Here you go. On your screen right now, this is official as of, 20 minutes ago from Adam Schefter. The Jets are sending cornerback Michael Carter and a 2027 7th-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for John Metchie and a 2027 6th-round pick per sources. So Philadelphia gets rid of John Metchie. That honestly makes a ton of sense because Metchie has done nothing for Philadelphia since being traded a couple of months ago. It's kind of felt like they were having some insurance in case Smitty or A.J. Brown got hurt, maybe a kick returner. That never actually panned out. They have Darius Cooper, they have Jahan Dotson, and Jalen Hurts likes to throw to basically 2 receivers that aren't named Dallas Goedert whenever they're in there. And so Metchie, totally expendable. Jets need receiver help. This is a great move. And then you have Michael Carter, a corner, which we've talked about, corner, edge rusher, 2 options in the Philadelphia Eagles, really market as a whole. And I think that this makes a ton of sense, but there is a little bit of a caveat. So first off, here's the deal on Michael Carter. Has he been fantastic here in 2025? The answer is no. That's why he's expendable, as most people are at the NFL trade deadline. He is a Joe Douglas draft pick from 2022. Joe Douglas, the former GM of the Jets, now, of course, in Philadelphia's front office in some unknown capacity, essentially. That clearly played a role in Philadelphia, wanted to go ahead and grab Michael Carter. He's a slot guy, though. He has played the vast majority of his career in the slot. So Philadelphia now has a couple of options. One, they think Michael Carter can simply be an outside guy, and they'll work him in there, give him a chance to compete against Jacorian Bennett or Keely Ringo or Dory Jackson and see if he wins the job on the outside. Or option 2 is to play Michael Carter in the slot, and that officially would mean Cooper DeJean becomes a full-time outside cornerback, not just a outside cornerback in base defenses. So plenty of options right now for Philadelphia. But this is, to me, a very solid trade because you're essentially spending nothing, as I'll throw it back up on the screen right here. You're spending a 6th-round draft pick, and then John Metchie, someone who basically was not playing. He got booted off of kick return coverage because he was absolutely terrible. And again, a 6th-round draft pick when they have an absolute ton of draft picks going into 2026. And this is a 2027 draft pick. So you don't have to worry about it. It's 2 years down the line. And then you get somebody who can play cornerback. Now, were there other options at cornerback out on the market? The answer is yes. The problem would be they probably were going to be too expensive, right? I wanted Denzel Ward. You wanted Denzel Ward. Cam Taylor-Britt was another option out there. I don't think that the Bengals are really looking to go ahead and shop him. But Denzel Ward was going to command a much higher price. And while I'm sure Howie Roseman at least kicked the bucket and made a phone call, they clearly wanted to save additional draft capital to maybe go out and get an edge rusher. And that's what this trade does for Philadelphia, is you go ahead and make sure that you didn't give up a 2nd-round draft pick for a cornerback. You still have seconds, you still have thirds, and you still have a lot of cap space if they want to go ahead and make a move for an edge rusher like a Bradley Chubb, who happens to play tomorrow night for the Dolphins as you get closer to the actual NFL trade deadline. So this, to me, is classic Howie Roseman fishing around for a spot in a position of need and finding somebody who they think has a ton of upside. And the question is, how are they going to go ahead and utilize him in the secondary? Obviously, I've seen your guys' comments, and I'll throw that up on the screen here. We won't stay live for too long, but I want to make sure people understand. They're saying we should have gotten Ward. Will we get Bradley Chubb? I don't know. We'll see. But again, the only question I have is, what is the actual plan for the outside cornerback slot with Michael Carter in there? Because as I said, he's a nickel guy, right? He's essentially a nickel guy. And so if they move Cooper DeJean out there, that to me sounds absolutely fine because he's been really good in base defense. Think back to what he did against Justin Jefferson, man-to-man. Did a pretty darn good job in that game 2 weeks ago. But Vic Fangio was just at the podium a couple of days ago, essentially saying on Tuesday, I like to keep Cooper DeJean in the nickel because he's a very good nickel. So they have a decision to make, and the interesting part is because we're at a bye week, we're not going to hear from the Eagle coaches until next week. So we're going to have to speculate over the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, trying to figure out what exactly they want to do with Michael Carter before their Monday night matchup versus the Green Bay Packers. Questions here? Thoughts on Jacorian Bennett? I see from BH Mega. Great question. I don't know what they're going to do with Jacorian Bennett. This, to me, tells them they're not that interested in Jacorian Bennett, or he hasn't proved enough to actually get the full trust of Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman, which is fair because Ja'Cory Bennett was traded in the middle of training camp. He only had a couple of weeks trying to figure things out. Then he gets hurt immediately, goes on IR. He's not practiced. And Vic Fangio always says he wants guys who have practice. He wants guys who understand his system. And clearly Ja'Cory Bennett has not had enough time to showcase to the world and showcase Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio that he's the guy for the job. Now, there is a world where the Michael Carter trade is simply a depth move for nickel. It's simply a depth move in case, heaven forbid, Cooper DeJean were going to go ahead and get hurt. I don't see that, though, because he is a starter caliber nickel. He's a starter caliber cornerback on the outside. And so I think Philadelphia simply is going to probably move Cooper DeJean out, then have him as a nickel guy in the base defenses and go from there. Does that mean Ja'Cory Bennett's not going to play at all? No. But you still have a Dory Jackson coming back from injury, a concussion. He probably will play in the Monday night game, 2 Mondays from now? So at least they now have depth at cornerback and a lot of different options. So, let's see. How do you feel the Bears signing C.J. Gardner-Johnson? We'll see if he can stay long enough. Not really the point of this show. But as I've told you guys, they were not going to go ahead and sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So it's not necessarily a big factor overall, I will say. Are they going to go ahead and pick up somebody else? This is what Killer Chicken's saying. Nice pickup, but I think we need to go pick up somebody else. I would agree. Now, I think they're probably done at cornerback. And again, I'll keep throwing this back up on the screen here for those who want to go ahead and see what the exact trade is. I think that they're done at cornerback, but I don't think they're done as a whole. We have heard time and time again over the past 2 weeks, they like cornerback and they like edge rusher. So we cross off cornerback here and we focus in on the edge rusher position. And then you go, how big of a swing does Philadelphia want to take? Because this was a small swing. It's a swing nonetheless, and one that I think is really good and exactly what Philadelphia has been looking for to add that depth, maybe allow Cooper DeJean to go to the outside. But then, if they want to go for a big swing, do they call the Bengals again for Trey Hendrickson? Because there's a new report from yesterday that says the Dallas Cowboys and Niners are still calling the Bengals for Hendrickson, even though Cincinnati keeps saying they aren't going to trade him. Do they go for a Jalen Phillips? Do they go for a Bradley Chubb? They just made a trade with the Jets. Do they trade again with the Jets for Jermaine Johnson, another edge rusher? Those are all options still on the table right now for Philadelphia. But there still is the other idea that the Eagles have looked internally and said, we're getting Nolan Smith back. We're obviously going to go ahead and get Brandon Graham back. And so that's like adding 2 new edge rushers we haven't had over the past 3-4 weeks. It's been a long time since Nolan Smith was out there and obviously no BG. Is that going to be enough? Ezekiel Delari comes back from injury as well. I would say no. I would argue and plead with Howie to go get somebody. I have said for weeks on my show that Bradley Chubb is, to me, perfect. I mean, it's someone who's played under Vic Fangio, someone who has actually produced this season. You look at Michael Carter, you could go through his stats in 2025. They're not fantastic. This is not like, the 5th best cornerback in the NFL. Bradley Chubb has 4.5 sacks so far this year. That's like more than anybody else on the Philadelphia Eagles, more than any edge rusher currently in the Philadelphia Eagles. And so to me, he checks all the boxes. But you just got to talk about price. If the Dolphins were to magically win tomorrow night, which I don't think they're going to do that against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but there are obviously factors in this and factors in exactly how it's going to go ahead and play out. But Howie at least has struck. He has made a deal. And as Kevin Camacho just said right there, get the ingredients and let Vic Fangio cook. And I think that overall, Vic Fangio is going to have a chance to, again, figure out what he wants to do at the cornerback spot. My guess, though, if I had to go ahead and guess, this tells me Cooper DeJean goes to the outside, Michael Carter goes to the slot, and then Philadelphia can mix and match the other guys in there if they want to. Does that mean Ja'Cory Bennett plays in a dime package situation? Does that mean that you move a Dory on the outside and dime, and then Cooper DeJean is going to be the other nickel in a dime situation or the slot cornerback? I don't know. It's interesting. I would have rather gone for Denzel Ward if you truly wanted an outside guy, but Vic Fangio has raved about Cooper DeJean time and time and time again. He did it again on Tuesday, saying he's one of the smartest people he's ever coached at the DB spot. He's an excellent nickel cornerback. And so I think trying to feature him more often out there is going to make a lot of sense. And plus, one thing Vic Fangio has struggled, I think, mightily with in terms of Keeley, in terms of Ja'Cory, and in terms of Adoree Jackson is they stink at tackling. They are not good tacklers on the outside. And Vic likes his cornerbacks to tackle on the outside. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell is one of the better elite cornerbacks at tackling, right? He's a very, very good guy at getting players down in the open space, and DeJean obviously is right up there with him, if not a little bit better. Now, if you put both of them on the outside, you have 2 elite cover guys plus 2 really good tackling guys on the outside, and then now you have protection at the slot with Michael Carter, and so to me, I think it makes a lot of sense. Quick super chat here from Marcus Dudley saying, Thomas, appreciate you being timely on the news. Okay, well, listen, I appreciate you guys watching right now. Obviously, did not have time to do an actual show. Myself and Josh Davis will be live tonight for our Wednesday link at 7:30. He is at a doctor's appointment right now, not like a serious one, like a routine checkup, and so that's why he couldn't jump on. It's why I am running the live stream, which is kind of fun because I don't normally get to do this, but as we always do, if there is breaking news that I think you guys be interested in, like a trade at the NFL trade deadline for a position of need, then going live, I think, makes a ton of sense. Again, if you're just joining us right here quickly, Jets are sending cornerback Michael Carter and a 2027 seventh-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for John Metchie and a 2027 sixth-round pick per sources. And if you don't know who Michael Carter is, he's a draft pick at 2022 of the Joe Douglas Jets regime. He's a primary nickel guy. Right, so you have a primary nickel cornerback coming, which means Philadelphia either just added a lot more depth at nickel cornerback behind Cooper DeJean, or the secret's out that they're going to move DeJean to the outside. They've been flirting with that. They played a lot of Cooper DeJean in base defense looks over the first 8 weeks of the season, and now they'll make that official. They'll move Carter into the slot, and this is how you go ahead and implement a move like that with a guy like Michael Carter. One interesting note on Michael Carter, he had a $5 million injury protection on his contract, which basically meant if he got injured, he got paid out an extra $5 million. He waived that, according to reports, in order to come to Philadelphia to make the trade happen. So Philly must have called the Jets and said, hey, we like Michael Carter. The Jets said, well, we'll trade you Michael Carter, but he has this $5 million thing that you might not want. They probably talked to his agent. His agent then talked to Michael Carter and said, hey, Michael, do you want to leave the one-win New York Jets and be instantly on a Super Bowl caliber roster? All you got to do is waive the $5 million injury settlement. And he did that, which to me says everything you need to know, that he definitely was excited to come to a winning team and get out of the New York Jets. And if I was him, I could not blame him, or I would do the exact same thing. So I think that it's absolutely fantastic. Someone says Adoree stinks. They should cut John Metchie, cut Adoree Jackson. I think he's been the best cornerback ahead of Jacorian Bennett and obviously Keely Ringo. Out of that three, he's obviously the best. But I think we have seen that he is not reliable injury-wise. And obviously, the Vic Fangio is just not a big fan. I don't think he's been a big fan of Adoree Jackson since they brought him in there, because I think the original plan, as we talked about all along during the offseason, was for Keely Ringo, who obviously never went and figured things out. I wanted Woolen and Phillips. I also wanted Tyreek Woolen. I would be very surprised if they go for Tyreek Woolen now, because they have made this trade. Again, maybe Seattle was asking more than the Eagles wanted to go ahead and spend, or maybe Howie Roseman just thought he wanted to save his trade ammo for other big areas of need, like edge rusher, which I guess we can see over the next couple of days. He waived it because he's never going to see the field, says Ryan Grebe. I think he's going to see the field. I think Philadelphia has a plan for him, whether that's working him up immediately for the Packer game, slowly getting him ready, waiting for an injury to happen. I think he's going to see the field, and I think he waived it because he wanted to come to a Super Bowl contender. Eric says, I feel bad for Metchie, leaving a Super Bowl team for the worst team in the league. Yeah, but if you're John Metchie right now, obviously a contract is coming up, and he's getting zero run with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, literally, they aren't even designing jet sweeps for John Metchie, which you would think could be like the one thing, if you wanted to get him involved, would make some sense. He's getting no targets. He's getting no play from kick returner. He's getting no jet sweeps. He's just standing on the bench. And A.J. Brown's going to come back. Despite all the trade nonsense that's out there right now, A.J. Brown is coming back against the Green Bay Packers 2 Mondays from now. And then the pecking order is A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Jahan Dotson, Darius Cooper, for sure. They like him better than John Metchie. They proved that this past Sunday. And then John Metchie. And so getting rid of him for a cornerback who actually has a chance to see the football field, to me, makes a ton more sense. Kevin with the super chat here, he says, happy with Coop on the outside. Hopefully this ignites the change. Yeah, Vic Fangio just said on Tuesday that he likes Coop in the nickel, but that was pre-trading for Michael Carter. So are they going to move Coop to the outside? And is Vic just, not lying to us, but being like, yeah, we'll keep him at the corner at the nickel slot until we make a trade? Who knows? But I do think 100% Cooper DeJean can play on the outside. He's proven, and Philadelphia's been hinting at this all off season long, and they've been playing him at the outside in base defenses, so it wouldn't be a big shock. Let's see, super chat here from Play Bones before we wrap up quickly. This is a pacifier remove for a corner. Will work for the time being. They really want a corner. They want to draft a corner for the future in the draft, which I think also makes a ton of sense. No one here is trying to tell you that Philadelphia gave up a 7th-round or a 6th-round draft pick and John Metchie for their future cornerstone nickel cornerback. By no means. I mean, I do think that they have plenty of other needs going into the draft this next year, but with tons of ammo in the first 3 rounds, a 2nd-round cornerback, a 3rd-round cornerback, I think makes a ton of sense. I think they're going to go offense or defensive line in the 1st round next year, but I totally agree here, Play. Like, this is not by any means the savior move that fixes the cornerback spot opposite of Quinyon Mitchell for the next decade. This is going to be something that they needed for depth, might as go ahead and initiate Coop going to the outside and still get you a very good young player with a lot of potential. And that's what the trade deadline is all about. Like, we want the big moves, and I would love Trey Hendrickson. I would love Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. But in reality, the trade deadline is about plugging holes with players you don't have to give up a lot for, who might be able to help you make a run down the line. And the perfect example, the one that Howie Roseman has nailed in the previous 8 or 9 years, was Jay Ajayi. Didn't give up a lot for Jay Ajayi. He was somebody who wasn't doing much with the Dolphins. He was okay, but not considered elite. They trade for the J Train, and he was a great piece. Not the end-all be-all, because they had a bunch of other running backs, including LeGarrette Blount, but he was a great piece for that Super Bowl run, and I'm thinking that that's kind of the hope there with a player like Michael Carter. So, one more time here. Again, I want to do this quick, the way people can watch back from the beginning. So, again, you let me know in the comment section. This is going to rerun for you guys to watch as much as you want, but here is your trade. The Jets are sending cornerback Michael Carter and a 2027 7th-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for John Metchie, and a 2027 pick per sources. That became official about 40 minutes ago. And so if Philadelphia makes another move, then we'll jump on here and give you guys the update. Obviously, I'll have a full show tomorrow, so more of a deep dive as we normally do. I'll just be live tonight at 7:30, myself and Josh Davis, to go ahead and discuss jointly the thoughts on this one. But I do think this signals that you're probably going to see Cooper DeJean go to the outside. Michael Carter plays in the slot. And then Adoree Jackson, Jacorian Bennett, and Keely Ringo, they wait in the wings. And if you were to have an injury, then first guy up, is it Bennett? Is it Adoree? It's not going to be Keely, but it'll be one of those three. But I think this overall gives you the depth that Philadelphia's been looking for. And it is a trade, because I was getting a little worried watching a couple of corners go yesterday, a couple of edge rushers go yesterday. All this talk, we've talked about it for weeks, about Schefter says they're going to trade for somebody, and Rappaport says they're going to trade for somebody, and Jeff McClain says they're going to trade for somebody. It was like, are they going to trade for somebody? Like, they are going to do that, right? And then eventually they did. So they have made a move. It's a position of need. And I like this more than I think people in the comment section are here. I mean, Cheapskate says, I'm fine about Carter, says he pretty much is a suck player. Okay, 2025, yes. In the past, I think he's been a lot better. Michael Carter is a good football player. He's only 3 touchdowns in 5 seasons. Vix wants interchangeable parts. Coop and Carter can both play inside and outside, which I would agree with as well. Okay, go ahead and make sure you guys subscribe. As I've said on my show many times, tomorrow's show is going to have the winner of the Jordan Spector Saquon Barkley giveaway. So if you have not commented on my previous 2 shows, Saquon, not subscribe, get entered. This is the way to do it. And then, of course, tonight we'll be live at 7:30, myself and Josh Davis, to further break this down and other potential moves as well. But just want to jump on here for a quick live. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been a very brief live edition of the Thomas Mott Show. Philadelphia's made a move. Give me your thoughts in the comment section.